Hendrickson has ended his holdout and is in camp. That does not mean he's going to participate. Adam Schefter reports that the sides are still not close to a new contract, but the SAC leader does avoid getting fined $50,000 a day and shows some good faith for negotiations. Here is Hendrickson today on why he chose to be at camp.
You know, things are exactly the same. What I'm not going to do is, as best as I can, like, avoid being a distraction. You know, I want to help the guys. You know, the guys that have helped me along the way, Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, even Sam Hubbard helped me a lot when I was here. So to be that right now, I think that's what's most important, and this narrative will kind of iron itself out as we continue to progress towards the season. I've played the last 4 years and represented this ownership wherever I've gone. On Sundays, I'm wearing stripes. For them to talk about me in a high regard is a special thing. You know, if you told me that when I was 18 years old that would happen, my heart would be warm. Circumstantially, I'm more excited to getting something done. I'm a firm believer of hard work works. The work I've done in the last 4 years, 5 years, 8 years in the NFL is done. I can't do any more at this time to rush the passer on Sundays. The hay's in the barn. It's just whether we agree or not.
Somewhat optimistic there. Bengals beat reporter Ben Baby joins us now live from Bengals camp as well. Ben, we just heard from Trey Hendrickson himself. What did you see and hear today from Hendrickson with him back at camp?
You know, for starters, when Trey walked out there, he almost looked like Prince Charming in one of those Shrek movies. Hair was flowing a little bit, making sure he was smiling and waving. He was in a very good mood. He was excited to be out at camp, and guys were excited to have him out there. I watched Trey extensively throughout the day, and even though he wasn't participating, he was still a very intense observer. He was sitting or standing by the defensive line, and we saw most notably him giving tips to a lot of the younger players, such as Shamar Stewart, the first-round pick who just ended his own contract dispute, and Miles Murphy, this first-round pick from a couple years ago. And Hendrickson wanted to make sure that he gave them pointers as they went through drills. And Murphy told me that it was almost like having another coach out there at camp. And in talking to guys, including Joe Burrow, they all valued having Trey here. They enjoy the energy that he brings. Burrow said it is a unique energy, and they are all hopeful that something can get done between now and the start of the season, but that remains to be seen.
The other thing about Prince Charming is he's very confident, and Hendrickson seems to be so as well. So what seems to be keeping this deal from getting across the finish line?
Yeah, definitely not lacking in confidence. He said he's ready to go right now if needed. But, you know, the one thing that keeps coming up, and I spoke to him about this today, was the guaranteed money. I think that's the big thing. I know our Adam Schefter's reported on this, that they might be close in value, but the guarantees are maybe where they're off. And what's unique about this is Hendrickson is looking for guarantees past the first year of his deal, which is something the Bengals do not typically do in veteran contracts. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are a couple of the exceptions. And knowing that, I asked Jamar a couple days ago, I said, why is it so important for players to get that in their deal? And Jamar flipped it on me. He said, well, who are the kind of players who get that? And I said, well, the good ones. And he goes, my point exactly. And for Hendrickson, it's not just about the status. He also wants the security that comes with that. That was something that he hit home often. So now it's a matter of both those sides coming to the middle and getting him ready on the field for the upcoming season.
All right, we'll see if they're able to get something done. Ben Baby, thank you very much. Let's bring in our front office insider, Mike Tannenbaum. Mike, how do you see this Trey Hendrickson situation playing out as he has now shown up at camp?
Well, Christine, the good news is he's in camp, and from Trey Hendrickson's standpoint, his $50,000 a day per day fine goes away, but he's not practicing. And if I'm the Bengals, I'm concerned about what happened in 2019 between Jalen Ramsey and the Jacksonville Jaguars, where Jalen Ramsey's hold-in lasted into the season, and he wound up getting traded to the Rams because he had, quote-unquote, a back issue that obviously went away when he got a new deal from the Rams. So not saying that's going to happen, but when you talk to people around the league, as Ben Baby just alluded to, there is still a big gulf between where he wants to be and where Cincinnati is. So the fact that he's in is encouraging, but a hold-in doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
And if I'm Cincinnati, until he's signed, I have to worry in the back of my mind, is he going to play or is he going to say that he's hurt? And that's a big concern if I'm the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, he asked for a trade in April of 2024, played last season. His last trade request was of March of this year. So TBD on that. Mike, good seeing you. Thank you.
Christine, let's head down the road. Steelers practice. It's time for everyone to get to know each other and come together quickly, considering their GM, Omar Khan, says he's built this team to win a Super Bowl this year. That's why he traded for DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, signed Aaron Rodgers. Pat McAfee was at Latrobe today, had Rodgers and Coach Tomlin on, and they had high praise for each other. It's new here on SportsCenter.
So it feels different to the fans. Does it feel different to you when you look over and you're like, okay, since Ben, that's Aaron Rodgers?
You're damn right it does. It feels pretty good, too.
Yeah, but
you know, just the possibilities, man. To have a guy like that, man, in your huddle, in your locker room, a part of your group, it certainly gives us all great confidence.
Mike T is the man. Any hate, disrespect, and the ilk is complete and utter.
hell yeah.
Mike T is the man. From day one that we talked on the phone in the offseason, I was never talking to a head coach. I was talking to a friend. I respected the hell out of that. I have crazy respect for him.
Mutual admiration society between those two. Let's bring in our Brooke Pryor. She joins us now from Steelers camp, St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Okay, so you just heard from Coach Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers. What are you hearing, though, from, let's say, the players and the other coaches on how Rodgers is adapting to Arthur Smith's playbook in that offense?
Well, Brian, I can tell you that love fest that we saw between Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin, that extends between Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith. We caught up with Aaron Rodgers after he was on the Pat McAfee show, and he talked about what he loves about Arthur Smith's offense. And he said it's the flexibility, the lack of rigidity that, you know, they've got all of these interesting weapons that can be really versatile, the Kenneth Gainwell, the Jonnu Smith, guys like that. And he said that Arthur Smith has been really good about tailoring his offense to the weapons that he has. One thing I thought was interesting, though, is that Rodgers admitted he is not an expert on this offense yet, that center Zach Frazier has been making some of the calls for him. And he said, look, man, I appreciate that you're, smart here, but I'm going to take this over at some point. And so I asked Rodgers, when do you expect to be an expert in this offense? And he said, hopefully by the end of the week.
Okay, I can see over your shoulder that some of the players trickling onto the field. Looks like practice is getting ready to begin. What are you expecting to see out there today, bro?
Well, Brian, earlier I heard Renegade playing over the speakers here, which is a really good scene setter for their first day in pads. That was supposed to be yesterday. Things got rained out. They went to the gym, took off their pads, and went through a walkthrough. Today, it's hot. It's about 90 degrees. Up here where I am in the shade, I think on the field it feels closer to 100 degrees. They're in full pads. And Aaron Rodgers said he's looking forward to seeing the tackling because he doesn't think he's been in a training camp practice or any practice for that matter where there has been full tackling the entire time. He said he thinks it's maybe been a decade since then. He said, on some of these run drills, he might try to look for DK Metcalf or Calvin Austin in a one-on-one situation and, free the ball that way. Instead, he said, I think I might hand it off to Jalen Warren and let him just attack a heavy box just to see what happens. And by the way, he's got a pick for a guy that could be in on an early